Did you know that courage is actually feeling the fear and doing it anyway? So today I was listening to Brené Brown, and she has a new podcast, and it's great, as you would probably suspect it would be. And I was listening to her first official episode, and she was talking about FFTs, which are effing first times, and how hard it is and how scary it is and how it requires so much courage and that you have to be willing to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And she was sharing her experience. And on the one hand, I was listening to her and I was so enamored with her description of her process because it's been so similar to my own experience in launching a YouTube channel. On the other hand, though, I was noticing that I was comparing myself to her. And I was thinking, why would anyone ever want to listen to me when you can listen to Brené Brown? I mean, she's so wise and she's so experienced in this. She's an amazing interviewer. She's amazing. She's funny. She's so relatable. She's so everything that, like, in my book, she's just great. And so I thought, why would anyone want to listen to me? And I started to go into a little bit of a shame spiral, like, oh my gosh, I've been putting myself out on social media and putting myself out on YouTube and like, oh, like comparing me to her, like, oof. And, keep in mind, Brene Brown's whole shtick is about showing up, being courageous, being vulnerable, facing your fears, understanding shame. And so who would have ever imagined that her video would be the one that would get me, or her podcast would be the one that would get me? But it's sneaky, right? Like the ego is a little bit of a trickster, and it comes in pretty quickly, and it just catches you off guard a little bit, or at least it catches me off guard a little bit, and it caught me off guard. I was a little bit surprised. I had to then do some of my own work, which was the first thing I had to do was just acknowledge that I was kind of getting a little bit swept away by comparison. But then I had to go into what was true on this. And, the idea that nobody wants to listen to me is obviously not true. People are listening to me. People have given me positive feedback. So that's one thing that's, not true. The other thing is, people can listen to me and they can listen to Brené Brown. So they can listen to both. And another thing is that I don't do this just for external validation. I mean, it is nice to get some external validation. I do this because there's a fire inside of me that is compelling me to speak about these things that I know are important. And also, I am an advocate for people to stand up, to speak out, to do their work, to remove all of the barriers that get in the way, that have them playing small in their lives. I am a person who is out there advocating for and supporting people to show up more fully in their lives and to speak their truth and to push the edges and to go into the discomfort and to show up more courageously. I mean, this is what I do. And yet there I was this morning feeling this sense of I don't know, I guess it was like I felt a little bit of shame and a little bit of maybe like for a moment I thought maybe I would give up, and a sense that, yeah, I guess I just felt like I'm not good enough, and who do I think I am to be out here speaking? But then I reminded myself that fact, which is, I'm here because I'm my unique me, just like you are doing your unique you. And that I do believe that there is no mistake, that you were not put here on this planet in this time as a human being and a spirit. You would not have been put here if it wasn't critically important, if you weren't a very, 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 very important part in the entire plan of the universe. And so I know that I believe that so powerfully and passionately that I have to do this. Like, I am doing this because I am just driven to do it. I know that what I have to say, my way of creating, my way of being in this world is really important. And that the more fully expressed I am, the more I show up, the bigger I play, there's a reason for it. I might not even understand the reason all the time, but there is a reason, just like for you. Now, your edge might not be to show up on YouTube. It might not be to show up on a podcast. It might not be to speak out in any public way, but there might be some other edge for you. And so the question is, what is that edge for you? Like, where are you being tripped up because you believe that people like Brené Brown or Deb Blum or whoever else out there is somehow more courageous than you, or more less afraid than you, or more, something, more confident? I would just invite you to consider the possibility that most of us who are out there showing up, we're doing it even in the face of fear, even in the face of the possibility of being embarrassed or getting it wrong, or people not liking what we have to say or do. That we're going out there and putting ourselves out there, and that it is hard. And that when you do something for the first time, like right now, this feels like the first time for me, because I've produced, I think 14 videos or something like that. I have actually recorded many, many more than that. And the truth is that I am still feeling like a beginner. And so every time I do it, there's some way that I'm pushing an edge for myself. And so the question is for you, what are those edges, and what tiny courageous action are you willing to take? It doesn't have to be big, but just one teeny tiny step. Because one thing I notice about it is that it's there is a way that we're being called to do something more, to be to stretch ourselves a little bit. And that we can look at the discomfort and go, ooh, no, I'm just going to stay over here in my comfort zone. But we can also just take a step into it. And what I have noticed is that in some ways, I just have to do it. I can't think about it too much. I can't get too worked up over the feelings that I'm having or the fear. I just have to know I'm probably going to be okay. Let me just take this one step. So the question for you today is, what is that one step for you? The teeniest, tiniest steps. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have with somebody, or maybe it's just being honest with yourself about something. Just being honest about something that you're experiencing or a need that you have. Maybe it's asking for something that you need. Maybe it's finally publishing the website that you've been working on for months and months and months, or sending an email, or who knows. It's not, I'm not here to say what your tiny courageous step is, but the tiny courageous step will start to literally the path will unfold in front of you. So you take one step and it's like you follow one breadcrumb and the next breadcrumb is there. And so life does align for us, but we have to be willing to say yes to life. So, and life is lived in the uncomfortable spaces. It's lived at the edge, on the other side of our comfort zones. And so we have to practice that muscle. So this morning I got a chance to practice it a little bit more. I got to practice the muscle of all the things that come up that are very compelling, that say, maybe you don't want to go into that uncomfortable space anymore. So yeah, maybe you can go into a little bit more of an uncomfortable space today. Thanks.